Hello everyone, good evening. Please indicate you can hear me by raising your hands. You know how we do it. Okay, thank you very much. You can you can drop your hands now. So I'm sure you can see my screen rather. You can indicate in the chat box. Can you guys hear me? Is my voice clear enough? All right. Okay. So last in our last class, right? Our mentor design she actually talked about prototyping, and you were also given a task. But when I went through some of them, I think most of you guys don't you get it? Okay, and then this is what prototyping does. It reviews your design. Okay, so if probably you designed a screen and there was no back button, you're just stuck on that particular screen. You're not going anywhere. And that's very bad. That's not how your design should be. Users should be able to navigate to and fro, end to end. That's how it's supposed to be. So today we're going to talk about high fidelity prototype and what it entails. And at the end of the class, we're going to do a few reviews. Okay. Point out a few things and then we'll be done. Okay, so what are you going to learn today? High fidelity prototype and what it entails. And I am very sure you guys know that we also have the low fidelity prototype. That is the one which is done on paper. It's basically just sketching. Okay, just like we have our wireframes and all of that. So just like we have low fidelity wireframes and high fidelity wireframes, we also have low fidelity prototypes and high fidelity prototypes. So I can decide that when I'm doing my sketch or my notebook, I want to prototype there. So I'm going to start by linking my screen, using my pencil or my pen to link the button to another screen. So with that, already I have an idea of how my product is going to look like. That's the low fidelity prototype. So what else are you guys going to learn today? We have the basic UI guidelines to note because a lot of you guys, okay, from when design she actually taught the last class, prototyping, and the class before that, she made a lot of corrections, okay, going over the design principles, but yet some of you guys are not you do not take the corrections. You're still splashing colors everywhere. I'm just seeing a lot of funny designs which shouldn't be so. So I'm going to be running over these things and I want you guys to pay absolute attention. Okay, you can feel free to go back to the slide, okay, or go back and watch the YouTube video. It's going to help you. And also practice works a lot. Okay, so basic UI guidelines to note when you're doing your design, because we're not going to go over this thing again, and we have, just like Ike said, we have barely 2 weeks left before your project phase, and we don't want you guys submitting designs that do not really make sense or is faulty. Okay, so now this is a quote I saw that I found quite appealing. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. So this is what prototyping does. It makes okay your team members to be able to understand the interactive process of your design. So you do not have to show them your whole Figma board and start pointing. This is my sign up screen. And from my sign up screen, you're going to the login. This is my login screen. All you have to do is show them your prototype. So when you click on this, you're already seeing the interaction, the navigation, and everything. You're already seeing what the final product is going to look like. So a picture is if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. Now let's look at high fidelity prototype. It takes you very close to what the final product will look like. It is more realistic and helps to test the user flow better. Okay, just like design she showed you guys in the last class, where she actually did a design and prototyped it. So it helps you to take a very close look at how your product is going to look like. This is the process my users are going to go through. This is what the navigation looks like. This is how interactive my design is too. So this is what high fidelity prototype. This is one of the advantage of high fidelity prototype. It is more realistic. Okay, so just like we gave you guys the assignment, the user flows, user is able to click on the search button and then see the search results. This is when it's going to review if you actually did that design, if you actually designed that screen. So if I click on your screen, your search bar, yes, your search bar, it's supposed to take me to another screen where I see the results, just like the user story said. And if I click on, your favorite icon, if I click on it, right, maybe if the user story said user is able to save, or maybe that was your save icon, right? If I click on it, I want to know that it has been highlighted. Okay, it shows that I've actually clicked on it and I have been able to save that recipe. So this is what high fidelity prototype does. Benefits of high fidelity prototype. One, it is more presentable to clients and stakeholders. I already made mention that instead of showing them your whole Figma board, okay, and having to explain all the screens, imagine you had like 100 screens. Okay, it is more presentable. All you have to do is send a link to them and play out your prototype. Just click on this screen, click on the other screen, and all of that. Secondly, it helps in easier hands off for development. Okay, so you just have to send this. If you want to actually you want to develop your product, high fidelity prototype, it actually helps with that. Easy hands off for development to send it to your developers. Also, it provides the team with a rich interactive experience and helps to identify elements that may be missing. This is the part I was waiting for. Okay, it gives your team members, or your clients or stakeholders a rich interactive experience. And it also helps to identify elements that may be missing in your design. Just like I told you guys that I saw a few designs that when I clicked on a particular should I call it element? Yes. And then it took me to a screen, but then I wasn't able to go back. There was no back button. So I was just stuck there. You cannot click on any other thing. You're just there. So now, because of this prototype, I was able to identify what element was actually missing and fix it. So these are the benefits of high fidelity prototype. This is what a good prototype does. All right. So elements of a good high fidelity prototype. We're going to briefly talk about these things that we've already talked about. We've actually spoken about this a lot of times. We're going to go over it again. We have color, we have typography, and we have spacing. All of this make up a good high fidelity prototype. I know design has talked about this, color has talked about typography, spacing, but I saw that a lot of you guys are still lacking in that area, and I decided to brush it off for the last time, okay, before we move on. So we're going to briefly talk about color, typography, and spacing. First of all, we're going to start with colors. Okay, so people decide whether or not they like a product in 90 seconds or less. 90% of that decision is based solely on color. Okay. I remember in one of these classes, I made mention of how colors that you use in your design can either spark up joy or make the user skeptical. Should I trust this product or shouldn't I? Okay, because of the colors. And honestly, with the submissions I've seen, some of the submissions I've seen, if I were to see that recipe app in reality, I am not sure I'm going to use it because of the colors that you guys used. Mixing the colors, and I'm not sure I'll be able to trust that application because of the color. Because colors actually speak a lot. Colors evoke emotions, okay, in the customers and the users. So color is one thing that we need to, it's a very important element of our design that we need to take note of whenever we're working on our designs. I hope everyone is following. Okay, so we're going to move on. So color, to use color correctly, it is very important to learn about the theory and implications of each one that you use in your design. Now, there's what we call color theory. Just like design, we talked about color psychology. There's what we call color theory. And this is the art and science of using colors. It actually explains how humans perceive color. Color theory also involves the message that colors communicate and the methods used to replicate these colors. Just like she taught you, colors have, they represent different things. Okay. They symbolize a lot of things. So if I'm seeing a red color, it gives off this particular emotion. Just like if I'm seeing a yellow color, brown, black, and all those colors, they have their significances. So these are stuff that we need to take note of when you're on your design. So when you're scrolling down, the aisle, and you're scanning the shelves filled with 1,000 cans or bottles. Let's say you're in a shopping mall and you're scrolling down looking for your bottle of Coke. So what exactly are you going to look out for? I want to see answers. I want us to interact in this class, please. So let's say you are in a shopping mall, okay, and you're seeing a lot, but you're looking for a bottle of Coke. What are you looking for? Okay, so I'm seeing red. Okay. All right. Yes, you're all right. What am I looking for? This is either the scripted logo or the familiar red can. That is what I am going to look out for because I already know that this is their brand colors, right? So it's the same thing. If I am your user, right, and I am coming on your application and you're telling me this is a food ordering app, there's some certain colors I do not expect to see. Do you get? There are some certain colors that I do not expect to see, right? Because I have used other food ordering applications and I'm familiar with what they look like. Or let's just make it this simple. Let's say that Coca-Cola company, right, decide to design a website or build a website. And then I'm going on the website. What do I expect to see? I'm expecting to see like red. Okay, splash of red everywhere. But imagine if I go on Coca-Cola's company in quotes, and then I'm seeing purple, brown, what other word color? Dark green. It's not really make sense, right? So color theory actually helps with the whole branding process. Just like I said before, people decide whether they want, okay, let me go back to that quote. People decide whether or not they like a product in 90 seconds. Okay, so I'm going over these products. In 90 seconds of looking at this product, this is where I get to decide if I like it or not because of the color. Okay, if I'm going over it and then I'm seeing funny colors like yellow background and green buttons, okay, it doesn't really make sense to me. 90% of the decisions that our users or customers make is based on color. So this is why we have to take this color theory thing very, very serious. So like I said earlier, a very important part of your branding must focus on color. You have to take note of your colors because a lot of you guys have this color issue and we need to fix it. So why should you care about color theory? In case you're wondering, why should you care about color theory as a designer? I mean, why can't you just slap some red on the design and be done with it? It worked for Coke, right? So color theory, the reason why we actually need to consider this or take note of this is because color theory helps to build your brand. It actually helps to build your brand, okay? But really, why should you care about color theory? Two words. I have two words to answer that: branding and marketing. Okay. So with this basic knowledge, when you've gotten the basic knowledge of color theory, you're prepared to make effective branding decisions. Pick out the right colors for your applications. So if I'm designing for a food ordering application or a banking app, or is it a chat feature, a dating application, I know what colors to use. Okay, that will get my users interested in my application and not drive them away. So when you've gotten the basic knowledge, like I said, it helps you to actually make good branding decisions, like what color your logo should be, or the emotions that colors evoke in a customer, and the psychology behind color choices on your website. This is why color theory is very, very, very important, and we have to take it into consideration before we start out our design. So these are, I gave you guys two tools here to guide your color selection. We have a website that we call Material Design Color. You can check it out. And we have Coolers too. Check this out too. So this is color theory. I'm going to send this slide to you guys and you're going to go through this, reading this one after the other. So this is what we have. We have the cool colors and we have the warm colors. We have complementary colors and all of that. So you're going to go through this on your slide. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the typography. Like I said, these are all things that other mentors have pointed out. We're going to go over it because some people are still lacking. Okay. And we need to clear that out. So what is typography? This is the act of bringing letters and text together to make a written language legible, appealing, and clear to the reader. This is just like a reminder. Some attributes of good typography include copy, text alignment, line height, and contrast. Okay, so we have good typography. This is what good typography actually entails. It holds readers' attention and it ensures legibility. Okay, so the user is able to focus on a particular thing that you want them to focus on. And it helps your user or the viewer, okay, It allows their eyes to travel in a certain direction, just like you want them to. And it also helps to convey information faster when you make proper use of your typography. So first of all, we're going to be looking at what we call the copy. So copy refers to the text that appears on a user interface. And these are things we're familiar with. We have the titles, headlines, body text, labels, etc. So this is the main reason, okay, why we advise you, admonish you to create a style guide before designing anything. This is the reason why we do that. Okay, this is what we call copy. It refers to the text that appears on a user interface. So it is actually good practice to have your copy content first before designing. Just like I said earlier, is why we keep telling you that you must have your text styles, your color styles, and all of that before you start your design. So we've actually looked at copy now. We're going to go to alignment. So alignment is the setting of text flow or image placement relative to a page, column, table, cell, or tab. It's from Wikipedia. So actually grid helps a lot with alignment. I know we've actually talked about layout grid, and I need you guys to understand that it is very, very important in your alignment. Okay, you cannot, you may get tired of manually aligning your work, but when you have a good grid system, it helps a lot with your alignment. It helps to put things in the right position. So ensure to always use your layout grids when you're doing you're working on your designs. So this is a tip you should know about. Long body text or paragraphs usually look better when aligned to the left or right. This is what you should take note of. While the shorter copies, these are shorter body text, they look better with center alignment. So you should take note of this the next time you're designing something. Okay, so when you're working with long body text or paragraphs, it's better if you align it to the left or right. It looks better. Okay, and then the shorter ones, it looks better when you align it to the center, when you give it center alignment. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question here. We have text alignment and we have two diagrams here, the one that is being ticked right and the one that is being ticked wrong. So I want someone to unmute his or her mic or either type it out on the chat box. The reason why the one on the left is right and the one on the right is wrong. Okay, Leonard, that was a fast one. Please unmute your mic and tell us.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
Good
Now, the
evening.
one on the right, the one on the left, actually, you can see that most of the elements in that box are actually aligned on a particular line, making it very easy for everybody to read. Why the one on the left, the one on the right, actually, is not aligned well at all. Like you can see, some of the elements are actually going to the left side under the main element itself.
Thank you very much, Leo. Any other person wants to try out? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So if you can see here, this person actually obeyed the grid system. Okay. Normally this the text, that's the headline and the body text. They're supposed to start from the same line. They're supposed to align. They should have the same alignment, if you understand what I mean. But here, I think I have a diagram that represents that. Yes, this is it. This is it. So we have where the icon is placed here. This body text is starting from here, and this guy is not, and it shouldn't be that way. Okay, so this is the main reason why this is wrong and this is right. And here you can see here, it's the second one, which is right, is neatly underlined headlines to draw the required user's attention. So this line also helped a lot. Okay, can you guys hear me? Please confirm you can hear me so that I do not just talk to myself. Okay. So Kevin, I think you have network issues. All right. So adding the underline, okay, underlining the headline, actually it also helped. It helped the user. Okay, it drew the user's attention to the headline where we have features. Okay, and then also we have here align text in precise grid for smooth and easy to scan user experience. Okay, so that I know I'm reading through this title and then the body text. Unlike this guy where I have to look at the icon and then it does not promote free flow of readability here. Udeme, do you have something to say? Your hand is
Yes,
raised.
I do. I want to ask a question, please.
Your
They,
question I have to
oh,
hold.
okay, all right.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll give room for question. Or you can ask your question on the chat box. We have mentors on the call. Thank you very much. So as I was saying, it also reduced the opacity of text below the pointers to improve readability. So I know that you guys don't really do this. Okay. I mean, when you get to put black, your title or your heading is black, and then the body text is black. So that is not right. You should use a lighter color. Okay, so if I'm using black here, I use a lighter shade of black here for my body text to distinguish between the heading and the body text. So just take note of that too when next you're doing your design. So this is why this is wrong and this is why this is right. So whenever you're designing a website or your mobile applications, you should learn how to organize your work, making use of a good grid system. Okay, so moving on, this is what we call line height. Line height is the vertical distance between lines of text. And these are things you guys are very familiar with. So common knowledge is that line height of 130% to 150% is ideal for readability. Okay, I'm sure you guys have not even you've not even seen that feature on Figma. You've not actually. I would advise you to go on your Figma board, okay, and check out this line height feature and play around with it. Like I said, practice, it makes perfect. Okay, so common knowledge is that line height of 130% to 150% is ideal for readability. But even up to 200% is also acceptable. This is an example of line height. This is line height. Okay, it could also be the distance between, if, let's say we had two text here. We had hey, and maybe we had you down here. So the distance between hey and this other guy, that's the line height. And then this is the font size. So this diagram is already very, very self-explanatory. Now we're going to look at contrast, which a lot of you are finding it very hard to understand. I want you to note that contrast is very, very important in your design process. Okay, and contrast doesn't only apply to colors. Okay, I already made mention of that before. Contrast is not only about colors. Okay, so now to ensure that your users experience good legibility and visibility with your content, you have to make use of font colors that have good contrast with the background color. So I've seen a lot of yellow. How do you use a bright yellow? That's your background, right? And then you put a white font on them. How do you expect your users to read that? So you have to take note that okay, contrast works this way. It's basically just light versus dark, okay, large versus thin, sorry, large versus small, thick versus thin. That's basically just what contrast means. So if I am using a dark background, okay, I have to make sure that I use a lighter color for the font or whatever I am placing on that background. And then if I'm using a lighter background, I have to make sure that if I am using a font, that font has a darker color. So these are things that you have to take note of when you're working on your designs, right? Choose font colors that have good contrast with the background color. Because I saw a lot of submissions that had very, very bad contrast. So common tools that help to check if you have good contrast are colors.com. You can click on that. It's actually a link. And we have the contrast checker too. It helps you to actually know if you're on track with your colors and all of that. Okay, so this is an example. This is what I was talking about. This is low contrast. This is high contrast. You can see here that we have a navy blue button here, and then the font is yellow. So it made it very easy for whoever is seeing this to be able to read that this is high contrast. But with this, I can barely see what is written here, especially if it is far away, because they are both bright colors. So good contrast, a lighter color on a darker background, and vice versa. So you need to take note of contrast. Contrast is very, very important when you're working on your designs. So please take note of that. This is another example I brought up. So we have what do we have here? Primary actions should be obvious. So if your primary button is blue, the user should be able to see that blue, like you should be able to see the pop-up. I should not get confused as to what action to take next. Secondary action should be noticeable, but not as prominent as the primary action. Okay, you can see here on the left-hand side, the first design, where we have cancel and sign up. This is very, very appropriate. Cancel is the secondary action. The primary action there is sign up. That is why it is being highlighted. That is why it has the active color blue. But the one on the right is wrong, because seeing cancel with that orange color and seeing the other one, the user, okay, is going to, there's every possibility that the user is going to get stuck. What do I do next? What's the call to action button? Where do I go from here? So this is a very good example. We have the primary button here, secondary and tertiary. So you need to take note of this when you're working on your designs. So be very attentive in today's class, because this is actually going to help you when you're going through your project phase. All right. So these are the tips and tools to help with your typography. If you want to understand hierarchy and spacing, I dropped a link here that you need to check it out. So I think you guys should do a lot of research. And I don't know how many of you have actually read the books that Design She actually posted or sent to you guys, because they are very, very important. I know you're all hyped up and you want to just go on your Figma board and start getting your hands dirty, but there are a few things you have to take note of. There are principles or guidelines that you have to note in order to create beautiful designs, in order to create beautiful products. Okay, so in order for you to understand hierarchy and spacing, You have type scale here, and you have golden ratio calculator. Helps you to calculate your spacing and all of that. We have learn to choose per font. So now I'm going to talk about what Ike said earlier before we started this class about how a lot of you guys are making use of different fonts for a particular screen. It shouldn't be so. The maximum of fonts you're supposed to even use is two. Okay, one could be for the headline, and then the rest of them should have one particular font, come from one particular family of fonts, instead of using different fonts on a particular screen. So I'm seeing on the, what do I even use for an example? Let's say we're looking at a home screen. Okay, and then we have something like okay, the headline where you have home. The home is Roboto. And then I'm now looking at the next thing could be categories. I'm now seeing poppins. The next text I am seeing inter. The next text I'm seeing something very different. So it shouldn't be so. Consistency. Learn to choose per font, maximum of 2 fonts. We have to learn more about that. We have type.io, and we also have Google Fonts. So I want you guys to check this out. And then consider the mood your product inverse, converse, or creates. So typography, just like color. I think I remember Design She actually made mention of that. She gave 2 examples. Okay, which she talked about I think the text were in red, and then the first text, it conveyed a love message, something like anything for you. Yes, I think I can still remember, anything for you. That's what the text said. The first text kind of looked funny. I mean, if I saw that text, I would not take the person who sent it serious, because it's supposed to, make my heart melt and all of that. The kind of fonts that you use, okay, your typefaces, they convey messages too. They evoke certain emotions. So these are things we have to take note of. Consider the kind of mood that your product infers, or the mood that your product creates. If it is a happy mood, you have to make use of, fonts, typefaces that convey that message. Less is more. Less is more. We're still going to keep preaching this, and then practice a lot. I think a lot of you guys do not practice, but I'm going to advise you to practice. At the end of the class, what do? Go on your Figma board, do your research. Google is your best friend. And if you have any concerns that is beyond you, come on Slack and ask your questions. Okay, that is how you learn. Now we're going to look at the last thing, spacing, which a lot of you are still finding it very difficult to make use of when you're doing your designs. Your designs are supposed to have breathing space. It shouldn't be all cluttered, all packed up. They should have accurate spacing in between them. What does spacing do? It promotes readability. Okay, it makes your users to be able to scan through every content. But then if you do not have accurate spacing, it makes it very hard for the users to do so. Okay. So using a good spacing can actually help bring about a sense of consistency and also harmony to your UI design. And what does good use of spacing do? What does it do? It makes designs look pleasing and usable. It also improves visibility and hierarchy among the design elements. I want to see a sense of hierarchy in your designs. Okay, because you're putting a label to your card doesn't mean it should be very, very close to your card. Well, I'm going to show a few examples. Like I said, we're going to do a short review at the end of this class to show you guys what I am talking about. So your design should have accurate spacing in between the elements. It's actually very, very helpful because it helps the user to be able to navigate through. So let's talk about some spacing rules here. We have the special system. This is a set of rules for how to add measure, size, and space to your design. Using a special system will allow for uniformity and consistency across your designs. So I talked about this, and in one of those classes, I think someone asked design tree about it, or someone brought it up. But I'm going to still talk about it because I think the person in question actually misunderstood me. So a very popular example of this system is the 8-point grid. It doesn't mean your own cannot be developed, but this is the mostly used grid, okay, on this system, the 8-point grid. Now the 8-point grid uses a basic unit of 8 pixels, and the dimensions of every UI element, that is from the line height, the cards, or even the button, is a multiple of the base units, which is in this case is 8. This is what I meant by when I said it is divisible. I remember using that word. Okay, it is easier because you know that you're making use of this, okay, this pixel. All right, so if I have probably the space between my heading and my body text could be 8, and then the spacing from that, the both of them, to my status bar could be 24. So we have 8 plus 8 is 16. 16 plus 8 is 24. We keep going. We have 32, we have 48, and so on. All right. So we have to take notes that using odd numbers for this system may actually prove difficult because I have tried it out. So I am telling you this out of experience. Using odd numbers could be very, very difficult to maneuver because your progress is going to be halted, right? So the 8-point grid is most widely used, like I said before, because it is divisible by 4 and 2. And what this does is it makes the resizing and scaling of your elements across the devices very, very easy. But I'm going to show you guys an example so you guys understand what I am talking about, so it doesn't confuse you. So this is an example. Now look at the first diagram and look at the second one. I need you to take a minute or two and look at it very well and absorb this diagram. So the one on the left, it has no clear vertical rhythm because you're seeing we have 24, we have 20, we have 34, we have 34. But then look at the one on the right. This one is using the 8-point grid system. That's why we have 24, we have 16. You're not seeing something like 30 here or 34. But then this one doesn't really have a clear pattern that it's following. We're just seeing 20, 24, 34. Whereas this one is actually following this point system, this 8-point grid system. That's what we have here. We have 24 here, the spacing. We have 16, we have 32, we have 32. We can still have 48 if we want to. And the likes. So notice how the element on the left looks when there is no clear defined system. Okay, for the one on the left, it is different from the one on the right. Okay, so you can see here that this is actually a grid. This is a grid. This is a grid rows. So you can see that this one is actually 24. You can see this line. You can see this line, and then this is it, right? But then look at this guy. You can see that it is not lapping. It is not on this particular line. It's just there. The same thing with this guy. This guy actually crossed this line, and it did not end on this line too. The same thing with this guy. This is even way out of this other line. So this is what making use of this system, this is what it does to your design. It promotes uniformity and consistency in your design. So this is what you have to take note of. Another spacing rule that you have to take note of is what we call spacing, padding rather. So padding refers to the space between UI elements, and it can be measured both vertically and horizontally. Okay, you guys are familiar with padding. I think the reason why we actually started using that word is auto layout. Yes. So padding, actually it creates good UI that looks very pleasing. And it is advisable to use padding. The reason why I'm saying this is I saw a lot of designs, okay, for your buttons. I saw a few buttons that had text in them, and then the text were actually kind of fighting the space. There was no accurate spacing in between them. So this is what padding entails. Okay, you have accurate spacing. Let's say this is your button. You have enough spacing in between them. Because actually I saw a lot of design that did not have this padding. You guys did not make use of padding. So I was seeing a lot of buttons and even cards that had their text fighting for space in between them. So you have to make use of this. When next you're designing your button or you're writing your text on a card or whatever, take note of this padding. All right, so for additional reading, there is this link here. If you want to learn more about spacing, grids, and layout. So as designers, it's not right to only design. Okay, you have to read too. Look out for resources. That's how you get better. That's how you learn more. And this is a guide to spacing and layout in UI design. So please do well to check this out and read them. So I am going to be taking questions now before we start the review, like I said, before we go over the designs and point out a few things. So if you have questions, please use the chat box or raise your hand. Okay, Leonard, please ask your question.
Yeah, good evening once again. Now, I want to ask a simple question, and that question is like this. Now, sometimes when you're using grid, if you're using grid system, especially when you're using columns, it depends sometimes if you're using, like, if you are using a web interface, or it's sometimes if you are using this principle, you said, that the principle of using eight or using even numbers to design, there's sometimes the alignment issue sometimes, and it's not right sometimes, because if you calculate the distance between the frame and that particular element you are placing inside the frame, you notice that there are some lapses there, and maybe you want to place your button now, there will be some lapses. So I don't know if it's actually safe to always use even numbers sometimes.
No, I don't understand. Was that a question or a statement? Or you're just pouring out your frustration?
No, it was a question actually. I asked
What is
if
your
it's safe
question,
enough to
Leo?
use. I'm asking if it's safe enough to use the five, or if it's safe enough to use odd numbers or even numbers. That's what I was asking on the grid system.
I already just told you that I have actually made use of odd numbers, okay, for my grid system, and it actually did not work out. I mean, it started out fine, but as you progress into the design, it is not going to work out. It's going to just scatter everything for you. But it is very, very, like I said, it is advisable to use the 8 point grid. Like when I started talking about this system, right? I did not say it is a must. Please listen and listen carefully. I did not say it is a must that you must use it. It doesn't mean you cannot develop yours, but this is most widely used. I know another designer who makes use of this too, and I can tell you it works for me. It creates this consistency in my design. Okay, and it is very, very easy to resize or scale my elements across the design. It makes it very easy to do that. So, like I said, it is not a must for you to use this particular grid system. It doesn't mean you cannot develop yours, but odd numbers, they prove very, very difficult. I don't know if I have answered your question, Leo. Okay, I'll take that as a yes. All right,
Yes, yes, yes. You don't know.
okay, does any other person have a question before I start sharing my screen to do the review? Oh wow. So you guys understand, and henceforth we're not going to be seeing funny designs. We're not going to be seeing poor spacing, wrong use of colors, typography. That's very nice. Beautiful. Okay, so Kunumi, if I spelled your name correctly, please unmute your mic. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Go
Okay,
ahead.
good evening. Yes, okay. I think my question is kind of similar to that of Leo asked. Because you were saying something about um using numbers, like using odd even numbers or numbers are divisible by 8 for your spacing. I wanted to ask, I think there's some frames that their size itself
It's too
are
small, right?
no, not even divisible by 8 itself. What do you do in that kind of frame? What do you do when you're designing that kind of frame?
You said your firms are what?
I think there's some frames itself that if you look at the overall length and breadth of the frame,
Mm-hmm.
they are not they are not divisible by 8 itself, or
Okay,
they're
what
not.
makes you think they are not divisible by 8?
I cannot. I think I'm not in front of my laptop.
You're just you're just
I'm just
assuming.
I think the size for an iPhone 13 screen, I think the width is about 375 or so. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But
Oh,
that kind of number, that's that number. If you look at that number now, and then you want to do like a proper spacing for even numbers or a number that is divisible by it, how do you go about that?
okay. All right. I've heard okay. I'm seeing people's hands are raised here. Do you guys have a question or you want to answer the question that he just asked? Let me be clear before I go ahead.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Okay, so who? What? Let me see if I can get that your name. It's Kunumi. Yeah, Kunumi.
Just my name is
Okay,
Ayo. Just Ayo.
so
Ayo.
let Okay, Ayo. Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Now, I think you need to calm down. Now, this is it. So we're talking about the spacing rules here. Okay, I'm actually speaking from a learner point of view. So of course we are attending this class together. So I'm not speaking as a UI UX designer, okay, that has all the knowledge. But I'm speaking from okay, I've actually sat down and kind of listened to what was being said. And from what I'm seeing, the spacing rules here and everything, we're talking about the elements and not the frame. So whether the frame is divisible by 8 or not, I don't think that's something you should worry your head about. Okay, we're talking about the elements itself. Okay, that the spacing between elements should be numbers. It is advised. Okay, it's a widely used practice. Okay, that spacing between elements should be divisible by 8. It is a widely used practice. Okay, it's something that is being advised that I'm bringing myself into the equation, that we should use. And this is spacing between elements. So whether a frame, okay, is the width and the height of the frame is divisible by 8 or not, okay, I don't think it's something you should break your head about per se. I don't really think it's something, because now, sometimes it's relative to design. Now, let's assume the height is not, and then, okay, fine, because of divisibility by 8, let's assume you want to stack things up vertically. Now, of course, if it is not even, then there's every possibility that a particular element will fall off the screen. But that's why you have scrolling, okay? Even if it's a width thing, like I said, it's relative. So I don't think it's a frame thing. Whether the frame is visible by 8 or not, don't bother your head about. We're talking about the distance between elements, okay? Between elements. So, like she rightly said, it's not like there's a gun put to your head or anybody's head that you must follow the 8 PT rule. Okay, it's just something that, okay, fine. People who are experienced says that this should be done now. But if you come up with a system that actually works far better or works better or gives you the same result, then why not go for it? Because one thing about technology is that technology, it gets better. We try to look for better ways to accomplish stuff. Okay, back then it was just a native development, Android, iOS, but now you have Flutter across platform. You can just use one code, build one application that runs on 2 platforms. So things grow. People find better ways to do these things. So this is more like an advice. Hey guys, I've been using this. It works for me. I'd advise you use it. But if you find a better system, then why not go ahead? Okay, so don't let it. It shouldn't be a deciding factor as to your background or your strength in spacing. You must look for one thing that this is it. No, 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 no. Just be flexible and just accept certain things. There are certain knowledge that we came to the world and we just accepted it. If you decide to go against it, well, fine. If it works for you, it's also fine. Like personally, right now, if I was a UI designer, I would actually look for another system. So they were saying it's okay. Let me go and define my own. And if you define your own and it comes out well, it's also okay. So that's actually how I would respond. So it's from a learner point of view, not as a mentor or whatever. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I heard what you said, but at the same time, we are designing. Let's say we're designing on a frame, and then we have it at the back of our mind that okay, we're supposed to create balance. We're supposed to create balance in that frame because I'm guessing that balance is one of the principles of design when we're designing. Shouldn't that also be taken into consideration with the fact that yes, you already said that within elements we're supposed to have some measure of spacing, and this distance or this measurement should be at least from experience should be divisible by 8 or should be an even number. But in the whole entirety of the whole design itself or the whole frame, and then you're designing so many, and you have so many elements on that frame, wouldn't it wouldn't it look awkward if there is no balance at the end of the day, if the whole frame itself is not divisible by 8?
Okay. So right now, I feel like if you go into mathematics, I actually love mathematics. Okay, but so Philomene, this is it. I understand balance. Okay. Then let's look at the reality of you designing a product. Now, how much when you talk about architecture, okay, and bringing your balance and the likes, how many things do you want to put on a particular screen that probably is not going to be scrolled? Let's think about that first. Okay, you're not going to scroll that, maybe on that particular screen, there's no scrolling functionality. You're not going up, you're not going left, you're not swiping. And you know that, okay, fine, this screen, let's say, for example, a login screen now. Now, it's not expected that we scroll because we're not looking for any extra information. The particular information we want to present on a login screen is just, it's not much. Okay, now, that being said, how do you, how many things do you think will be on that screen with respect to the dimensions of your frame? So we have a frame of, let's say, 1960 by, maybe 1000, maybe 800 or whatever. Okay. Now it is your responsibility to make sure that you present your elements in such a way that you find that balance. Now, knowing that you cannot put everything, that's why I said consider the fact that you're going to scroll. If you're going to have a lot of things, imagine if your login screen, okay, has a lot of the information on it. Is that actually user friendly? No, it is not. Okay, so don't worry yourself a lot about the frame. Yes, I understand balance, and this is one of the things why having an even number, like an even distribution when it comes to spacing. Of course, you should know even numbers actually. You should know even numbers, like what even numbers, even. When you have an even distribution, it kind of gives this balance and consistency. Okay, so it's you're working with relation to relation to your screen size. So when you pick a let's say a tab, okay, you're representing just you have the width, you have the height. So it is your responsibility to make sure that whatever you are designing still has this balance, but follows certain rules. Now, if you, like I said, if you come up with a an odd number system that works fine. Let's of course we talk about odd numbers. Odd numbers are not prime numbers. I hope you know that. Okay, so prime numbers you have 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, and numbers are divisible by 1 and itself, right? Odd numbers, the numbers that when you divide, you have a remainder. So if you think about it, do you think odd numbers are actually the best numbers to use? Knowing that you have a remainder, so you see that your height, the height of probably a button, you see 13 point something, this point that point this. I don't know if you get. So I know I've heard some designers say that they try as much as possible to make sure that their elements, when it comes to height and width, is not a decimal. I've heard. Well, I'm not like I said. I'm just speaking from learner perspective. I stand corrected. I've heard. So if that be the case, then that it just stands to reason that being even is actually the safest place to be. That's just what it means. Because if your height is 13 points, this point, I want you guys to zoom into your board. Okay, zoom into your board, like zoom in fully and see those lines. You see those lines there? See it. They are just it's just a Cartesian plane, like the XY axis kind of thing. So you need to make sure that these things actually work. These things matter. And of course, well, there are much more complex things that some persons don't really take note of. Okay, but with time. So don't worry yourself much about it's not about the frame. It's about what do you want to put on this particular screen and what spacing, what spacing do you want to give? Do you want to do it based on if you decide that odd will work for you, bros, no wahala, go on odd. If you say even is actually cool, even is cool. But like I'm saying, there are certain systems, principles that are already laid down and people are following it. Because look, experience is actually speaking right now. From what I'm seeing, she's not the only person I've heard. I've heard a lot of persons talk about eight divisible by 8 stuff. Good guys. So if I'm just coming into the system, I'm not sure I would want to argue against them, except I have the ability. Like I said, if I was a UX designer, I would probably go and look for my own system that works. And if it doesn't work, then I'll come back and say, okay, guys, thank you very much. I think I'm just going to follow with you. Okay, so go with your odd. If it works for you, if only it works. But what is mostly and widely used and acceptable is what you are actually being taught. But that doesn't work. Well, fine. I'd actually would love you to explore and come up with something better. Let's even follow your own rule. Like that would actually be a nice thing. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, Kunumi, right? So I know you're getting confused with the whole grid system, but I want to add a little to what he said. So not only does using this grid system help with your consistency and when you're trying to scale your elements, it also helps the developer to work much faster on a project. I think that's one thing you guys do not understand. So at the end of my design, I do not have to start explaining, or he doesn't have to think too much about it. He's clearly going to understand. Okay, he helps me to communicate better to the developer. So this developer in question can easily understand the 8 pixel grid instead of having to measure it each time when he's working on the whole development process. So that is one thing you should understand. Utilizing a number like 8 to size and also to space your element, it makes scaling for a wide variety of devices very, very easy and consistent. This actually helps you if you're working on a responsive design. I'm sure you guys have heard about that, designing for a website, for iPads and all of that. This is the reason why we actually use this. So for the majority of popular screen sizes, they are divisible by 8, which makes for an easy fit when you want to scale out and scale in. Just like I said earlier, the principles of this 8 grid is using multiples of 8, 16. They have 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. Equate consistency for me. And just like Ike said, it's not a must. It doesn't mean you shouldn't develop yours, but it creates consistency for me. But I know I'm using this for my spacing and for my alignment too. So from the layout to the dimensions, the padding, the margin of my elements, I am being consistent. And trust me, it helps a lot. It provides this visual hierarchy to the elements, and also it drives consistency, like I keep saying, gives it this quality rhythm when my user is looking at it. So I hope that actually answers your question. But I would advise you to also do your research. Okay. Because if you use this point grid, your design will look 10 times better. Okay. And like I said, it has been working for me. So I am very sure it could work for you too. But I'm going to ask you a question though, if you're still with me. When you used your grid, right? For your design, that's the recipe app design. What did you use for your margin? What's the number? What number did you use for your margin? Kunomi, can you
Well,
hear me?
yes, I can.
What
Um,
number
I
did you use?
I think I used 20. I can't remember because I'm not on my laptop right now. I think I used 20 for the margin space.
It is actually advisable to use 16. So this is one of the reasons why I am saying this, that this this grid system is actually very, very important. All right, I still have one person's hand is raised. Joy Angela, please unmute so that we can move on to the next thing.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm sorry, my question is one. What if you are using an even number and in the process of you spacing or you trying to space your work and you notice probably you're using 32 and the 32 is kind of too much and when you're trying to use 24 it's still a little bit smaller. Can you divert to like using 20, 30 downward? And number two, is there a specific size for a button? Yeah, and a text in a button. That's my question.
Okay, thank you very much, Joy. For the first question, I already just answered that. And then for your second question, I think I mentioned in my last class that the appropriate height for a button is 48 pixel. That's the appropriate height for your button. Okay, so if you're designing for an Android, iOS could be 44, but for mobile phones, right? For Androids, sorry, for Androids, I meant to say Androids. We're designing for Androids, 48 pixel for your height is appropriate. Then the size could differ, but the height should be 48 pixels. And then if you're using 48 for your height, I would advise you use 16 pixel, okay, for your text size. 16 for good readability, okay, because I noticed most people use big their text is normally too big or rather too small. So I'd advise you use 16 pixel for your text. That is if your button size has 48 pixel for the height. Joy Angela. All right, so
All right, thank you so much.
okay, so that'll be all for now. I'm just going to go straight to showing you guys what I said I was going to show you guys. Okay, please confirm you can see my screen. Hello, can you guys hear me? I'm not getting any responses. Are you guys still on the call? All right. Okay. All right. So I'm very sure you can see this beautiful design right here. Okay. So I saw this what's it called? This flash screen, and it got me very, very hungry because this person actually did a very good job. So all right, so this is it. And then the for the splash screen, I think the person used animation. So after a few minutes, it moves on to the next screen. Okay, after a few seconds rather. So we have this guy. And then we have our sign up button. These are called to action button. So I'm just going to be clicking on these buttons, okay, the call to actions, to make sure that they are linked to the right screens and to make sure that his design has end-to-end prototype. So we're going to be doing this together. We have the sign up button. All right, so when you click out like this helps you to know the elements that are actually clickable on your design. As you can see, the elements that have been prototyped and that have responsive. So I'm going to go ahead and click on sign up. And we have this. So this means that if I click on this guy or this guy or this guy, this is what happens. Okay. And then after that, I'm going to click on the sign up. Congratulations, your account has been created. Let me see if I can still go back. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go over the I'm going to go to login now. Follow the same method, click on the login screen. And I have this. So I'm just going to point out a few things. This brown on this image doesn't really make sense to me, right? I know I have mentors on this call. Does any of the mentors have anything to say about this before I proceed?
Yeah, hello everyone.
Hi, David.
Okay, so um, okay, from the design so far, looking at this screen, just a few things. Like you just rightly mentioned and talk them through spacing. Spacing is one of the things I'm saying there is kind of too tight. I can't tell um which section belongs to which section because spacing is also like a form of using or spacing is more like a form of distinguishing hierarchies and information groups. Yeah, it's more like a parent-child relationship. So just looking at this, I'm seeing top trending recipes and I'm seeing curated recipes, but there is no like clear spacing between the two sections to make me know that okay, this is another section, this is where another section starts and stop. So basically that's what I'm saying here. And also too, from the greeting text like high flourish to the body copy below it, there's no like hierarchy displayed in that. So those are just like little tips that we can work on. And shadows too. Just basic criticization of the platform.
Okay, thank you very much, David. I don't know, Design, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, so it's a great work. I don't know if this person's name is Flourish has done here. So I just have like little feedback. Okay, so I know that these cards here are actually, to show top trending recipes, but I don't know. When you say top trending recipes, are they just going to be two top trending recipes? If there are more, like normally, it won't just be two that you want to show users who are coming on the platform for the first time. So you may necessarily want to include another card. And you know how it looks like there's another card that is trying to slide into the screen. Okay, so what is the next action you want your users to do? Like, we cannot just see the image of the pasta or the food, and then, okay, do you want me to, if you tell me top trending recipes, probably you want an action to be made on that particular image or something, right? So if I'm just saying pepperoni pizza and then maybe the rating, like, okay, so is it that if I tap on it, then something else happens? Like, there should be a trigger for me to probably want to tap on a particular card or something. So plus one to everything Khalid had said concerning this brown color, I'm really finding it difficult. Like, I'm having a hard time seeing the copy, which is on, I think I'm seeing salads and salads dressing, but I feel like you can make that better, you know, maybe work on your colors. Um, yeah, but great work too. Yeah, one small thing too. So we have, and I can see this bottom nav bar. So, we said we don't know what particular tab is active. So maybe if you want to work on your visual hierarchy so that your users can know that, okay, everyone is actually on the home screen. So maybe you can, I'm not sure the color is quite visible enough for me. So I'm giving this feedback based on what I'm seeing here on this screen. So maybe you can probably make it a fill icon, right? So I know everything is outlined. So maybe you can make that fill or probably change the color, Um, yeah. So that's just like my little feedback. So I don't take everyone's time. All right.
Thank you very much, Design Chi. Thank you very much for that feedback. I don't know if Ikis has anything to say, but if he does, I'll give him room for that now before you go on.
Okay. Well, you guys have actually said everything well from your own perspective. But Mona, I just actually want to say something different. Okay, so Favor, please, can you help me go back? Like the screen before that, just go back, please. I think there's something I want to point out. Okay. Now, so I have a problem with the back arrow on a login screen. Okay, I have a problem with that. Okay, so imagine when you actually open an application, let's say you've logged in before. When you open an application, it takes you to the login screen. Okay, let's say the splash screen and then back to login. Where are you going back to? Okay, where are you going back to? Like to where? Back out of the application. Okay. So when you're placing back arrows, you need to be specific. You need to know where to place it. Ask yourself, where is it taking me to? And then logically speaking, should it actually take me there? Okay, because once the back arrow is here, that means if I've created an account and then I log in, okay, and it takes me to login screen, I can click back arrow and then go back to the sign up. So please go back, move again to the move. Okay, so now I'm seeing, so this is a sign up screen. It has a back arrow also, and it's also having an option menu. I'm wondering what I want to do on an option menu, like when I'm trying to just sign in or sign up. Okay, now go forward again, go forward. Now hold on. So your congratulations. Why is it also having a back arrow? Where are you going to? Like it's like back arrow is just everywhere, okay? Which it should not be. There are places, there are certain screens you get to logically, it should not have a back button. Logically, it should not actually have because you should not even go to that place by logic. Okay, so go back again. Go back. Let's see. Go. So here I'm seeing a back arrow also. Keep going. So okay, so go to just restart it. Let me show you something. Start, click on the start bottom. Right, okay, so you have the splash screen and then okay, so you can either sign up or log in. So this is the next thing that comes up when you open the application. So if I have an account, that means okay, well, I'm speaking from a developer point of view. Now, of course, if I have already created an account, I definitely will not see this screen. Okay, I won't see this screen because when coding it, you won't have someone who has actually logged in, who have an account already, who should not always be presented with this option to sign up and log in. I've created an account for crying out loud. Okay, so in that case, once I click on, so check if I don't know if login is actually clickable there. Confirm. So I click on login. Why should I go back to? Do I want to go back to sign up or like I don't know? So that's actually my own review. Okay, let's there should always be a thought process for every element, for every action. Okay, especially when you're prototyping, there should be an intent. Okay, don't just okay because it's back, it should go back. No, it shouldn't be that way. Not there's not everything you go back to. Okay, so that's actually just what I want to.
Okay, that was quite a review. That was quite a review. Okay, Design Chi, you have something to say. Please unmute your mic.
Okay, so I just wanted to add more things to what Ike's just said. So based on those screens which this person has actually designed, like just like the congratulations, I understand that that could probably be like a feedback screen, like you want to tell your users that okay, congratulations, you've been selected, or congratulations, we've registered you. So that's where like we said something about designing different user states. So that could be like a success screen, right? So when it's being developed, it just comes up probably in maybe 10 seconds for the user to just see, to just get this feedback that, okay, maybe we've received your email or check your email, your inbox for, messages or something. So there may be no need for you to include the like the arrow that it's taking you back, right? So It's just something that, if you're designing it, you're not going to be putting all those back arrows, because like your users will just see it for probably 10 seconds or 20 seconds, right? So it's just like, even when you're prototyping it, there could be like an after delay that, okay, after 10 seconds, this should just slide over to another screen. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to add.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that comment. So I'm sure you're taking note of this. I'm sure you're taking note of this. You know your design and you're taking note of this. So for this, I'm just going to add something before we go on because of time. So I'm seeing your title here, High Flourish, and then the text, the body text below it is the same size as the title. It shouldn't be so. Now, it will kind of confuse the user. I do not know which one is more important or which one isn't. This is also like a subheading or a title for this card. Okay, and then it is this size, the same size with what we this text here, this copy here, and it shouldn't be so. So you have to reduce this, make this more prominent, make this more prominent. You know, those things are important in your design, those things that we want our users to catch the eyes of our users. Okay, make it more prominent by increasing their sizes, and do not let it compete with other copy text that are not that relevant. Okay, so take note of that. So what else are we looking at here? The search is actually clickable. Okay, so I think you're making use of wrong elements, because I do not get why a menu icon should be on a search screen. I don't know what this is going to contain. Okay, so but this is not right. Okay, so now we have search recipes here. Okay, and that comes up, and then we have this guy, and it shows the details of this pasta. Now I wasn't really able to. Okay, what if I have a question for you, Flourish? What if the picture that I used here had a dark background? Will I or the user be able to see this back button? So that is what you need to take note of. Okay, when you're working on your design, take note of this. What else are we looking at? Okay, so that's basically it. And I can go back here. Oh, Akiza has something to say. Please unmute your mic.
Okay, yeah. So with respect to the search, okay, this is actually interesting. Well, I know, okay, when I click on pasta and whatever, that the way you're representing it, okay, I would want to assume, okay, probably that's how you want to represent it, okay, because from the user story, they said, I think users should be able to see search results, okay. But I don't know if you've used you've gone through certain websites and or mobile applications where when you click on the search, this when I look at this format, one of the ways I could think about this is like I'm seeing a history of words that I have actually searched before. The way it's actually formatted there, I could think of it as a history. I don't know if you've checked some websites and stuff like so. When you type, you get to see the history of search words that you've actually used. They kind of look like this, the way they are presented. So I'm just saying that I think there's probably a better way you could have presented search what results. Because if I'm searching for pasta, okay, now if I'm just seeing the names, we're looking at food here. If I'm only seeing the names, it's going to make it may take a long time for me to probably see what I actually want. But if I'm seeing more details about my search result, not just the name, maybe an image, okay, it kind of helps the user to find what he or she is actually looking for, because you could actually search pasta and there are several kind of pastas, and maybe I just want to feed my eyes, and I have to start going through each of them one by one to know. So I just think there's a better way you could have actually represented the search results screen, okay, rather than this. Because me, when I look at this, I can actually just think of, okay, probably these are words that we have frequently searched. Okay, so
Okay, thank you very much, IK. So I'm very sure you've taken down these corrections. Okay, this is actually very helpful so that you get to make better designs. All right, so this is the end for this one. So we're going to be looking at another one. Okay, so I'm sure you guys can see my screen. I'm just going to restart this. Okay, so this is the splash screen. And we're getting started. I'm going to comment on your choice of, should I say, yes, the size of your font. Delicious and detailed restaurant recipes on your phone should actually be smaller. And I do not understand, is this the name of the application? It's looking like just a normal text to me. Okay, your there is no sense of hierarchy in your design for this particular screen. Okay, and no accurate spacing. It's as if the login button just wants to smash this forgot password and move on. So there should be accurate spacing in between your buttons. Okay, your buttons and then your content. So I'm going to click on this guy, login. Oh wow. So I'm sure our mentors have something to say because I cannot move on yet. I have a lot to say. Akis, please calm down. All right, Akis, what do you have for us?
okay, so please just go back first, go back first, go back first. I think this maybe it's feedback or something. Okay, uh, okay, so yeah. So this is it. This is what we talk about most times when there are certain processes you meet, okay, and then it's not like you can't decide to do yours, okay, but of course you have to just follow some certain principles. Okay, so I don't want to comment on the splash screen, so don't I just go get started. Let's click on the get started. Okay, so this is to create an account. Of course, your spacing is a challenge here, that's for sure. Everything seems clustered up, okay? Everything seems clustered up. And then when you say create an account, okay, it doesn't have to shout. To me, shouting at me, the top text. But that's by the way, that's not really what I wanted to point out. Click, go forward. No, don't follow the prototype. So that's not create an account is not even clickable. So why is that not clickable? So that means you don't have a sign up screen because or that should take you to login. If you've created an account, it's either gives you a pop-up to check your mail or whatever, or takes you to log in, or it takes you directly to the landing page. So that means you're not done. Your prototype is incomplete. It's incomplete. I know your design sheet told you guys about end to end. Everything should be clickable. Everything that has to say as far as an element, except it's just static, but it should be clickable. But for the purpose of this task, at least things that should be clickable is with respect to your user story. So if everything concerning your user story has an end to end, then it's fine. I'm not expecting you to click profile icon to be clickable because we didn't tell you to design a profile icon screen. Okay, so go next. Just go to the next one. Don't follow the prototype. I actually want to point out something I saw. No, go back. I think perhaps the second screen. I think it's probably the second screen. Okay, thank you. So I want to ask you, okay, now I'm seeing username, okay, I'm seeing the place for password. Now, where forgot password is that where it's by design? Is that where it's supposed to be? I thought it's usually below login. I thought usually when it comes to login screens, forgot password is usually below, or is it always there? That's just my question, actually. Well, but spacing is a major challenge I think you have. Okay, and then of course Matt's pun, like Favor actually pointed out. I don't know, is that a username? Is that a username? Or maybe it's a keyword to sign into the application. It's a keyword. Okay. So what this shows me is that you guys need to learn to put thought process when you're designing. Okay. Let there be a thought process to your design. Don't just decide. Okay. Let there be a thought process. Now, please go to the landing page. Okay. And then sign. So why am I clicking on sign up with Google and then I'm going to favorite recipe? Why am I clicking on? She's clicking on sign up with Google and then it's taking her to favorite recipe. So your prototype is wrong. Now these are things that I shouldn't give feedback on these things. Like when you're done prototyping, test out your prototype. I think Atisha showed you guys now. When you click outside the screen, you get to see what is actually clickable. Now, then be logical. Ask yourself, always cross-check your work. It is very important. Yeah, I understand that sometimes you can get carried away in the moment that people, please. Imagine if this was a $1 billion product I was giving to you and they said, okay, let us test it. And then you give it to your client and the client clicks on sign up with Google and it takes him to share. Okay, so I really don't talk about the design per se. The mentors can actually do much more work. I'm more concerned about prototyping because I'm a developer. I actually build applications. So there has to be a thought process between, for end to end. Why am I going here? And then, of course, the whole concept of the back. I don't know if you have a back button in this in your design. Okay, I don't know if you have that. Okay, so once I'm here, so it's either I click on any of these guys. So let's say home. So let's say I click here. So none of your cards here are clickable. The only thing I clickable is search. So once I go to search, I can't go back. Now remember, I clicked on search now I'm on the search screen. Why can't I go back to the home? Because you've designed the home screen, you should go back. That's end to end. I came to the search. I should be able to go back home. No matter what, guys, your prototype, and you have to go back home. No matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, home should take you to home. It is very important. Home should take you home, no matter what you're designing.
Okay, thank you very much, Ikes. David, do you have anything to say before I go on?
From just in addition to what Ike has said, like what I'm still saying, I think one of the common traits, I think all the mentors are still saying, the use of visual hierarchy. I still also repeat it. Okay, just can you go to the sign up, please, Faye? Sorry. Can anybody hear me? Can she hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I was saying, there should be a sign up screen, right? I just noticed something. Sign up. Aside the sign up with Google and sign up with Facebook,
this is
there is no
the
manual
sign
how
up.
to sign up for this.
Create account.
Yeah, to create an account. Aside doing that with Google or Facebook. Because another thing too, okay, let me just start with the screen. Now, from the CTA, I believe this is a login screen. So what I should be saying for the social logins should be sign in with Google, sign in with you, not sign up with Facebook. Because at this point now, you are trying. I think this is contradicting to the purpose of this screen, which is login. So again, typos are important. So I'm saying sign up with Google instead of signing with Google. And I don't know if this person maybe has a create an account screen. I don't know if this person has a create an account screen. Create, is there a create an account screen for this person? I'm just trying to.
Yes, there is.
Okay, can we pull that up? Okay, now one thing, like Ike has really said everything, but I just want to point something out here. As users, now I know that speaking from the user experience side of it, I know we've not been talking everything, but it's still coming from a place of empathy for the user. One of the things I know design should be, if not anything, it should be very effective. Effective in the way that it shouldn't like let the user think. You should do everything possible to let the user complete whatever action he's doing on your product in the least possible time. And that, looking at this create an account screen, when creating an account, there's something about password where you give hints on fields. You know, one thing is to use one of the hints we've talked about, and Chi and Fia has always talked about, is use of placeholders on text. But then again, for password, I think we can go a step further by like giving the users hints on what the password field is actually meant to be. You get, so I don't know if you go on Google and some other forms, or maybe when you're logging in or creating an account on some platform, they give you some tips, like let's say your password should not be less than 4, or you should use special characters and all. So using those cues, those are more like cues that actually help the user or hint the user on what is expected of him. In that way, that UI is then effective because it shows the user what is expected of him to do even before he does it. So he doesn't actually go through the whole scenario of making mistakes and coming to type. In that way, he has done that action in the least possible time. So all of those cues are important. Or maybe you might not be create an account form like this, because it's more like a form, or sign up from there. Could be other forms that probably need hints. We should, whatever it takes to like probably hint the user. There are like placeholder, you can use placeholders, you can use description of what a particular field means. There's a tooltip where you can also, the tooltip icon, just in a vein to like go an extra mile to actually tell this user, okay, this is what is meant for you to do. There's a book we mentioned at the beginning of this cohort. We say, don't let me think, and don't make me think, something like that. I can't really even recall the exact word, but I'm talking coming from what I've learned in that book. Not trying to allow your users to think, because in that way, your product is one step closer to being world class and very easy to use. Because it's one thing for your product to be very fine and everything, but then is it effective? Does it get this thing done in the least possible time? And that goes from the signing, from once the person launches your platform, from the splash screen to the signing and to every other screen. It has to be effective. Your filter, you shouldn't be looking for things. You should guide him. You shouldn't even think of, there shouldn't be a scenario where the user gets lost. Because even when he seems like he's lost, there's something they say, maybe probably he will learn about it as time goes on, and will fall for when there's all those stuff. He just tries to make the user not feel like he's lost, even when sometimes it might necessarily feel like that, because there are some factors we can't actually cover, like network issues. But we still try to design those screens that notify us of network issues in a way that still keeps the user in our platform, hoping that he resolves it, because the whole essence is to keep him in the platform, not to easily chase him away. So I think I will just hold my pen for now on this. Maybe somebody else can just highlight other stuff. So that's just my own point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Thank you. So I'm just going to give a rundown from the beginning to the end, and we're going to call it a night. So this is supposed to be the onboarding screen, because I'm seeing these sliders here. But then why am I clicking on this and then it's taking me to log in And also, if this is my first time of using this application, right? If I'm clicking on get started, okay, that works. But then I shouldn't just click on this guy. I shouldn't click on this guy. Okay, my splash screen, and it's taking me to login. That's not right. And then please work on your spacing too. And your design should have hierarchy so that your users know what the important content is and what isn't. Okay, by making the important ones more prominent. Work on your spacing and your alignment too. Now I have logged in. I wouldn't say I like the way your cards are displayed. Why is this turned this other way? Why is this one why is this guy even here? Okay, you make your users confused, like they don't know what to do next. What is going on with your design? Okay, so you have to work on that too. Make sure that make sure that there is consistency in your design. There is no enough spacing. So I'm seeing categories is has two types of colors. I don't understand why that is. I don't understand why I'm having black and green for categories. And then categories is like a subheading, same thing as popular for you. So I do not understand why categories has a much bigger font than the popular for you. That is not right too. All right, so I am clicking on your, actually this whole search bar should be clickable, not only the search icon. So I want you to work on that. I'm clicking on this guy and then I'm searching. I cannot go back to my home screen. Even the home here is not even clickable, and that is very, very wrong. Your prototype should be end to end. If I am going to this place, I should be able to get back to where I am coming back from. So I see your jollof rice here. Oh wow, here too I am stuck. I'm stuck here too, so I don't know where to go next. Nothing is clickable. I do not even have a back button to take me back to the home screen or to where I just came back from. That is also very bad. So please take note of that. Please take note of that. So honestly, I don't even know where to go from here. We have 9 screens here, but this is the end of the road for me. Okay, so that'll be all for now. So in case you're seeing this, we do not do reviews just for fun. Okay, we're doing this so that we get to correct you guys. And for people that are yet to submit, you get to avoid these mistakes. And for those that have submitted, you get to go back to your design and do the right thing. Okay. This is how you learn, by getting reviews. So I'd advise that you guys go back to your board, take note of all of this that's been stated today, and create beautiful and responsive designs. Basil, do you have a question? Please unmute your mic before we call it a night. Our time is fast spent.
Okay, good evening, Favor.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Um, I don't have a question concerning this class or the review we just did. My concern is I'm stuck in stage 5. I've submitted and has not been reviewed. And the last time I think on Tuesday, last week Tuesday, Ike said that I submitted with the wrong link, that he is going to look into it. And I've been trying to reach the mentors on Slack, and nobody has been responding to me. So I'm kind of stuck in stage 5. No review, no promotion, nothing. Thank you.